One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Alex Ricker-Gilbert. Alex is the Senior Vice President and Athletics Director at Jacksonville University. Greetings, Alex. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on, Ty.
Now, Alex, you've been in that AD chair at Jacksonville for a little over 2.5 years. In total, your background in athletics is 9 to 10 years in full-time and graduate assistant work. You also worked a little in undergrad, so over 10 years basically in working in college athletics. Your background in terms of full-time work was in compliance and student-athlete services. I want to talk to you a little bit about those 2.5 years leading Jacksonville. What has that time, 2.5 years, you come in and you have to set your core values and you set things up so that you can lead a successful department. What has that time taught you about leadership, organizational structure, and overall departmental success?
Sure, yeah, it's a great question, Ty, and it's hard to believe it's been 2.5 years here at Jacksonville as the AD, but you learn a lot along the way, and I'm constantly learning every day about this job and about the challenges and opportunities it provides you and provides the university and the department. To answer your question specifically, really what I've learned is that in taking a job like this, the most important thing to do as a leader early is to look, listen, and learn, is to understand your staff, understand your department, understand your student athlete, understand your coaches, understand the institution and its goals and mission and vision, and see how your athletic department can mirror that, because that's essential for your success, is to follow in line with the president and his or her mission and values. And so when I first got here, I did a lot of listening, trying to understand, learning about where we came from, where we might want to go, before I look to make any significant changes to the organization. And with that, I always have found it very beneficial to make macro-level decisions in a way that's collaborative. There's no chance for success if you make decisions in a vacuum. And as folks know, being an athletic director is all about making decisions. It's all about the decision-making process. And I find that in leadership and in this role, the best way to do that is collaboratively. It's okay if you take a little longer than you might want to make a decision, as long as it's informed, because it's hard to go back on a decision once it's made. But if you think about it, you include others, it's not only going to make for a more sound decision, but as a department, people will feel a part of it. People will feel included. People will feel like they're valued. And so that's a big part of leadership that I've learned. As far as organizational structure, it's essential to have your department set up how you would like it personally as a leader in order to achieve ultimate efficiency. That's the important piece of organizational structure. For me, when you look at our department, it's small, but I think nimble, and we're set up in a way that it allows us to move quickly. And as a new leader or a young leader, it's impossible to get your structure right the first time. You're going to want to make tweaks along the way. You're going to want to make changes if you see someone or something that needs to be shifted. And so I would say that for ultimate efficiency, organizational structure is essential, and having your structure how you like it is essential. But know that it's important not to get frustrated if it doesn't work immediately for you and how you initially set it up. Oftentimes, and I would say all the time, it'll take tweaking throughout your first year, 2, even 3 years. And as you grow and develop, you'll continue to tweak that structure. But it's important you stay on top of it and understand the inner workings of your department so that you can have it set up how you'd like. And then departmental success, the third part of your question, I believe all successes are as a department, as a group, as a collaboration. And so the importance of when we have success, when we celebrate what it is we're doing, again, like what I've learned in leadership, it's important to share that. It's important to pass along the credit as a leader and take the blame, right? So you give credit, you take blame. And when we're celebrating departmental success, you want to scream that from the mountaintops because that's how people feel valued.
Right. And my assumption here, you mentioned for young leaders, this is actually excellent information for people who come in. Of course, you started off 2.5 years ago. I believe you were 28 when you were named the athletics director. And so you come in and you have to establish your core values. And like you mentioned, you got to do some listening and understanding of the culture. And then you have to start molding the department how you want to mold it, what you mentioned, right? How you think it would work personally for you as a leader and then collaboratively for your staff and for the school as a whole. What were some of the challenges as you have gone through and set these things up? And you mentioned you have to tweak things over time. What were some of your challenges in going through that process?
Sure, yeah, and you mentioned core values, and I think we've turned some of our challenges into opportunities, right? We've turned them into opportunities. We've sort of built our core values based off some of those challenges. And so what I mean by that, in that first year, we didn't have departmental core values, right? We as I said, we looked, listened, and learned about what people's challenges, opportunities, roadblocks, testing points were for patients, whatever it might be. We listened to that. And after that first year, we developed a committee, and we for our core values. And what we did is we laid out everything we thought Jacksonville University athletics and Jacksonville University as an institution was and aspired to be, and that included both our challenges, our positives, our negatives, our opportunities. And we built our core values off that. And so the first one being be original, that's one that I was asked about today already. What does that mean? Well, sometimes as an institution, as a department, we're not going to get the outcome that we want initially. So we have to try to succeed through unconventional means. That's where be original comes from. So while people might view not being able to get to the outcome you want as a negative or as a challenge, we view it as a way to be original, to get to an outcome in a different way. Second, put others first. That's a big part of Jacksonville University. Put others first is sort of the foundational core value of what makes our institution special, in that our greatest resource is our human resource, we often say, and putting each other before ourselves is important. Exceed expectations. We always have to be striving to be better than what people will expect of us. Our 1970 basketball team is sort of the cornerstone of that. They're the smallest school to date to ever make the national championship game. So that's sort of the symbolic group of that core value. Foster growth. At the end of the day, we're an institution of higher learning. Our job is to make the student-athlete experience, the coach's experience, the staff experience as good as it possibly can be. So our job is to foster every constituent's growth and then be a part of the whole. That's our department. Obviously, we have our challenges internally. We have our agendas internally. But at the end of the day, we have to be striving to make things better for the whole, make things better for the university, for the community, for Northeast Florida. So I think we've been able, through those core values, to address some challenges and make them opportunities.
Right. And what it sounds like is, you mentioned earlier collaborative leadership. It sounds like you put together a committee and it took collaboration, and you guys came up with those things in terms of how do we define ourselves and what will be our core values that we move forward with from this point on. That's an excellent insight there, Alex. Coming from your background in compliance and student-athlete services. Your experience in those areas, I would imagine, exposed you to the inner workings of NCAA legislation and what it takes to make a great student-athlete experience. How has a combination of those two areas and experiences proven to be beneficial for you during this last 2.5 years in the chair?
Yeah, I think it's been integral to my day-to-day thought process in that's why I do this. I do what I do for the student athlete, and having that background, that is ingrained in me. And so we say every day when we're making big decisions, macro level decisions as a senior staff, as a department, as an institution, that we're going to be student athlete centered. So how many student athletes can I impact with this decision? How many experiences can I change with this decision, or with this new resource, or with this staff member, or with this use of money? That's what sort of our department is found on, and that's what excites me. You know, the greatest success that we have isn't necessarily a win or a loss. It's seeing a raw talent come in as an 18-year-old young man or woman and leaving as a grown adult ready to take on the world. And so that's what really drives me. It drives our department. That's why I love this, because we're playing Division I sports, but at the end of the day, we're able to feel, even in the upper administration, you know, the senior vice presidents, the president, at a smaller institution that's able to be nimble and have relationships with our students, I feel as though I can still have an impact on them as individuals. And so that experience as a compliance administrator, as a student athlete services administrator, has really set up what I believe in as an athletic director, and that's the student athlete experience. And as soon as somebody and folks lose sight of that ideal, or as soon as I lose sight of that ideal, is when I'm going to need to hang it up.
All right. And it seems like a background in those two things, compliance and student athlete services, allows you to maximize the student athlete experience within the framework of the NCAA apparatus and things that can make it a great experience for those student athletes. That's an excellent background coming into the athletics director chair, I would think.
You know, you see it, I think, more and more today, you know, in 2018, because of what we've talked about, because of the emphasis that's been put on the student-athlete experience, providing them a voice within the framework of the division. And so it's exciting to see, because that's what our priorities should be. We should never lose sight of who we're doing this for.
You're absolutely right, Alex. Well, this has been an excellent, insightful conversation, and I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed it as well, and you have a great afternoon.
That was Alex Ricker-Gilbert. He's the Senior Vice President and Athletics Director at Jacksonville University. He's been there for 2.5 years, and when he took over, he was 28 years old and has done a number of things in his department. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.